Version 6.3, or Luna 4, is bringing us 2 new weapons to the gacha pool, along with a new pair of artifacts. And in this video, we're going to discuss what they do and who can best use them. We'll also explore the niche options just for fun, but be warned, these won't be recommended if you're playing for meta. Quick reminder that I have my usual links and info in the description, and the captions are available if you need them. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with the artifacts first, starting with our lunar reaction focus set, Aubade of Morningstar and Moon. Its 2-piece effect grants an 80% elemental mastery bonus, and for its 4-piece effect, the user's lunar reaction damage is increased by 20% when they're off-field. If the party is in Ascendant Gleam, which means having 2 Nodcrite characters in the party, this bonus increases by another 40%, making up for a total of 60%. When the user swaps on field, the effect lasts for another 3 seconds. In other words, think Golden Troop, but with extra steps. With the release of Columbina, this set was designed around her own kit. Her skill involves dealing lunar damage from off-field. With it also being direct reaction damage, the multipliers are a lot stronger, and will make better use of the damage percent bonus. You can also consider running Inefa on the set, as her direct lunar charge damage comes from off-field. On paper, it makes sense running the set on either of them, but before you fully invest your time in resin, let's go over some of the caveats. First off, this set is heavily reliant on the team being Ascendant Gleam. If you're playing the user in a Nascent Gleam or solo Nodcry team, you lose out on 40% damage bonus, which is a massive drop in damage. It effectively hard locks the user into being in Ascendant Gleam, despite the fact that both of these characters are flexible options in a Nascent Gleam team. If you're looking to farm a good all-around option for these two, and you're specifically planning to play them in Ascendant teams, the Aubade set is going to be one of their best choices. If you're planning to go for more optimized teams, this is where things get a bit tricky. In some cases, it might be better to run the Serenade set instead, since it would be a team-wide buff rather than a user-specific one. For example, if you were to run a team of Flynn's, Inefa, and Columbina, you can run the latter two on Aubade for personal damage, but putting at least one of them on Serenade would be better for overall team damage. But enough about the meta stuff, let's talk about the niche or meme options. If you have Lauma in some kind of Ascendant Gleam team, you want to build her as a sub DPS, and you're in a team that's able to spare Verdant Dew stacks, then you can technically use the set on her. As long as you use the skill within 3 seconds of swapping in, she'll have the damage bonus. For other options, this set isn't limited to direct lunar damage. Any off-field character who can contribute to regular lunar reactions can also technically use the set. Since Lunar Bloom doesn't have a regular form of reaction damage, this will only work on Electro characters for Lunar Charged, Geo characters for Lunar Crystallize, and then Hydro or Anemo characters infusing Hydro for both. This is, of course, only an option if the character using the set is trying to focus their damage output on lunar reactions. And considering how the damage is calculated, it's also more effective on characters who are the main contributors to the reaction. So maybe characters who already build EM like Sucrose or Kazuha, or maybe someone like Yai who can build both EM and crit. Overall, the set is more focused on characters who specialize in dealing off-field lunar damage, such as Inefa or Columbina. I expect we might get more Nodcry characters in the future who would serve as off-field DPSs. My main issue with the set is the Ascendant Gleam lock. Once again, both of the current best users are capable of functioning in Nascent Gleam teams, so it sucks that this option isn't going to be a viable choice in those teams. Fortunately, the next artifact set is a lot more flexible to use, and it has a lot more users where it's a clear best option. A Day Carved from Rising Winds grants an 18% attack bonus for its 2-piece effect. For its 4-piece, attack is increased by 25% for 6 seconds after a normal attack, charge attack, skill, or burst hits an enemy. If the user has completed Witch's Homework, which is the Hexarai mini-quests, the effect also grants a 20% crit rate bonus. This can work while off-field. In total, this artifact grants 43% attack, and if they're a Hexarai unit, another 20% crit rate. It's going to be a new best option for many of our older characters who previously didn't have a best set. Klee is going to be one of those characters. Razor is also someone who best uses the set. Even better, Despite his Hexerite buffs turning him more into an elemental DPS, this still works with his physical playstyle, and you wouldn't really have to change his build between playstyles because attack and crit are universal for him. On to other options. This is technically a good Mona set, but under the condition that she's on-fielding, and also that she has constellations. A lot of her personal damage comes from her C2 and C6, and these both have better uptime when she's the on-fielder. If you plan to keep her as an off-field support, you can still technically farm the set for her, but you could just as easily keep her on whatever build you already have, like Noblesse, Emblem, or 2-piece combos. What I really like about the set is that it's not reliant on the Hexerite characters being in Hexerite teams. It just requires you to finish the character's Hexerite mini-quest, which takes like 10 minutes. 5 minutes if you're a lore skipper. This unique condition is better for characters who don't have to be in a Hexerite team to be useful. Durin is a great example of this. While his performance improves in these teams, it doesn't skyrocket to the point where he relies on them to function. A non-Hexerite team can still reap the full benefits of the artifact set. Same goes for Venti. While his main DPS playstyle is already locked behind a Hexerite team, you can still use the set on him if you're using him as a generic burst DPS. At the same time, if your off-fielders are Petch DPS units, which is Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro, VV might still be a viable or even better option for him. So don't feel obligated to farm the new set, and definitely don't dump the VV pieces you currently have, just in case you have to switch back to that set. Anyway, to wrap up the Hexerite list, let's cover the other characters. Fischl can use the set, but Golden Troop is still going to be a better option in basically every scenario. The Hexerite set is something you can farm if you don't have Golden Troop and you're just trying to be efficient with your resin, but if you want to maximize her damage, or if you already have a Golden Troop set, the Hexerite set will likely be second best. Next up is Sucrose. Main DPS build? Go for the set. Support build? Probably not. Finally is Albedo. Despite being a defense scaler, this set will actually be Albedo's new best option in the following scenarios. On to the other potential users. The only specialized condition is that the user has to be Hexerite to get the 20% crit rate, but every single character is able to get the 43% attack bonus, making this a free buff for any character who needs it. Charlotte and Shenhe are a couple examples of attack scalers who would either use Noblesse or a 2-piece combo of attack and ER. If you have enough ER and want to invest more attack into their abilities, this is a new option for them. It can also serve as temporary pieces for units like Aeon Sun or Yehoda, but they do have better options that are worth farming instead. Of course, I wouldn't recommend farming the set specifically for the attack scaling characters. It's once again a scenario where if you're already farming for the Hexerite characters, then some of the spare pieces can be used to be more resin efficient. That's gonna do it for the artifacts. Let's move into the new weapons, starting with the Catalyst, Nocturne's Curtain Call. It has a 542 base attack, and an 88.2% crit damage bonus. For its passive at R1, the user gets a 10% HP bonus for free. After they trigger lunar reactions or deal direct lunar reaction damage, they'll gain a further 14% HP bonus and a 60% crit damage bonus for lunar reactions for 12 seconds. They also generate 14 energy, but this can only happen once every 18 seconds. The effects are off-field friendly. This is Columbina's signature weapon, and it's intended to be her best option. Her direct lunar damage is HP scaling, meaning more damage. Her burst provides a team-wide lunar damage bonus, and the weapon will be able to address her energy needs. Outside of Columbina, there are two other Nodcry characters capable of using this. Both Nefer and Lauma have EM scaling, so the HP bonus isn't going to be that useful. With Nefer, the weapon provides 148% crit damage to her main sources of damage. The energy every rotation can make bursting more consistent, but it's never really been necessary for her. On the flip side, Lauma's a support who doesn't need the crit damage. Depending on how the elemental application plays out in certain teams, she also might not naturally trigger Lunar Bloom, meaning she wouldn't proc the additional crit damage effect until she deals her direct Lunar Bloom damage with her skill, and therefore her direct damage wouldn't even get the crit damage bonus. So if you use this weapon on Lauma, The main utility would be the energy bonus every rotation. Not really a recommended option, but still a usable one. For non-lunar characters, this weapon can still be a decent stat stick with an 88% crit damage bonus. Any damage character can use it, though it's a little better on HP scalers due to its HP bonuses. A character like Neuvillette can easily be slotted into a lunar team to maximize a 24% bonus instead of just 10%. Mualani can also be an option, but since her niche is in Vaporize, she's less likely to run a lunar comp. And in the nichest of scenarios, Lunar Damage Barbara can use this. The 24% HP can be used for her healing, while the crit damage can be used if you want her to be a main contributor for Lunar Charged or Lunar Crystallize. Now, in terms of other viable users, the more universal stats are the crit damage and energy passive. Characters who can use this but not the HP stat would be units who are Hydro, Electro, Geo, or Anemo characters capable of applying Hydro. These units can contribute to the team-wide lunar reaction damage of Lunar Charged or Lunar Crystallize. To name a couple examples, dedicated damage dealers like Yai, Ningguang, Wanderer, or Lisa can use this better for overall buffing on personal and lunar damage. Driver-focused supports like Mona or Sucrose can deal higher lunar damage, and make better use of the energy regen. Meanwhile, units like Lanyan, Aoife, or Mizuki are less reliant on energy, but can still use the crit damage for driving lunar reactions. You can also technically use this on Dendro characters in Lunar Bloom teams if they can consistently trigger the reaction, but since Lunar Bloom doesn't have its own team damage variant, the lunar crit damage isn't really gonna be viable in these teams. The last weapon is a new sword called Light-Bearing Moonshard. Just like the Catalyst, it has a 542 base attack and an 88.2% crit damage bonus. Its passive at R1 grants an unconditional 20% defense bonus. Additionally, the user's lunar crystallize damage increases by 64% for 5 seconds after casting an elemental skill. The really important detail for this weapon passive is that the user needs to cast their skill to activate it. It's not a weapon that works just by dealing skill damage. This is the aspect that heavily restricts the weapon to its signature user, Zabai. She has a Kniche-like playstyle where she enters her skill state and can deal infused Geo and Lunar Crystallize damage. Her skill can generate a point system similar to Knight's Soul Blessing, and reaching a certain threshold allows her to cast a special skill to deal more Lunar Crystallize damage. This part of her kit maintains the uptime on the weapon's passive. For other characters like Furina, Albedo, or Chiori, they are capable of contributing to Lunar Crystallize, but while they have high uptime on their skills and skill damage, their quick swap playstyles can't maintain uptime as easily. Albedo has a niche option for the weapon, which I'll get into later. But for now, let's talk stat sticks. 88% crit damage is a nice overall stat for any character, so it's not completely useless there. There's also the 20% defense bonus, which means its stat stick aspect is better on defense scalers like Albedo or Chiori. You can also technically use it on Shilonen, but unless she's running a damage playstyle, the crit's not as useful. But what about other characters who can use the passive? Because of how restrictive it is, heavy disclaimer, the following list is just for fun. It is super niche, it is not recommended if meta is your goal, and we are 100% reaching with some of these options. First character is Albedo. He's an off-fielder with a 30% duration on his skill. Unless the flower breaks, it's not necessary to recast his skill. But if you really want to maximize the weapon on him, you can play him as an on-fielder. His skill cooldown is super short at 4 seconds, so you can continuously spam his skill to maintain uptime on the Lunar Crystallize damage. The next character who has better uptime on their skill is Geo Traveler. A leveled up Geo MC has their skill cooldown on 6 seconds, which is pretty good uptime on the Lunar Crystallize bonus. This also requires you to be on-fielding them, which might not be as bad. They do have an A4 that deals extra Geo damage while on-field, so you can take advantage of the passive. Final character, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is Geo or Hydro Mannequin. Mannequin's kit is already designed to be an on-fielder, so you're not in some weird scenario of forcing a support to be on-field. Their skill grants 4 seconds of infused damage, and they have 2 charges. You can cast their skill, deal damage for 4 to 5 seconds, and get the weapon bonus in the process. Afterwards, cast your skill again to refresh the bonus. In terms of the weapon passive, their field time will always have the Lunar Crystallize bonus, which can technically make them a pseudo Zebai. Alright, that's gonna do it for the video. Personally speaking, I am most excited for the Hexarai set. My older characters like Klee, Razor, and Venti are on my upgrade list, and I can finally give Durin a more dedicated set as well. I'm also planning to go for Columbina and Ineffa, but I'll probably just give them both a new Aubade set, since I don't really want to go through the min-maxing hassle of figuring out who needs Serenade. As for the weapons, I don't have enough Primos, so I guess Columbina is running Favonius Codex. But as for you, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the new weapons and artifacts. Are you planning to pull or farm for them? If so, who do you plan to use it on? If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye!